All right, then, once again, hello, good morning, good afternoon, all of you mayoral types. My name is Josh, and hey, how you doing today? All right, welcome to another episode of Dead Men Streaming. And listen, I am going to be honest with you. Um, I I screwed up. So at the end of our last video, I mentioned that I was going to do some tram work. Okay, fine, and I did for over an hour. And I set up a line, and I set up some depots, and I readjusted my roads and played around. And then I set a subway station and crashed the game entirely before I saved and lost all of my work. All of it, every last bit. Uh, yeah. So then I redid as much as I could last night, and then I went ahead and did it again this morning. It was a little bit faster, and then while I was at it, I went ahead and added some bus lines. Also added a new landmark, and I did go ahead and add my subway depot. So I'm going to walk you guys through what I did. You can see the routes, but in all honesty, it took an obscene amount of time. It was incredibly droll and boring. And honestly, you are better off not listening to me as I do that. So let's start with our new landmark. I've gone ahead and installed the city shopping mall up here at the very nearest the edge of the map. The reason why is I do intend to turn this into a bit of an urban sprawl back through here. So we're going to have medium density, light density buildings coming up through here. Um, and a mall dead set in the middle of it seems perfect. We also have a couple of overground parking garages. We'll put some parks out in front of it. Behind it, I set a large park, the game set match building, a couple of passage parks. We're going to fill in this area. We're not done. I needed this because I needed a tram circle right here to give a loop effect for one of my tram lines. All right, over here, I've gone ahead and I've added a subway yard that is not connected to anything. I don't have a single foot of subway line down. I went ahead, I stuck it over here next to the rail yard. Once this is built up, I'll try to figure out something that I can add to the area so that this just. I don't like the rail and subway yards in this game because there's not a lot you can pull on them, even with the decoration tool. So if you take a look at this and go into surfaces, I can kind of drag this around. I can sort of drag that out a little bit, but then you just end up with a giant square. And I can't, at least if I can, I don't know I can. I can add something like this under it, maybe, which kind of improves the look if I use the right coverage, but it's such a pain. I don't like it, but we do need a subway. I'm going to say that. We probably should have built a subway before now, but all right. In addition to that, put in a small little tram loop right here. Did have to put in two tram depots, fully maximized, using 29 of 30 trams for the routes that I set up. And I think that was all the major buildings that I added. Now, the other thing that I did do, I told you the first time we did trams that I do not, and I mean this wholeheartedly, like to do trams around heavy roadways or intersections. Because if they bug, if they glitch, if people start crossing the road, if they hit a stoplight, it can really eat up game resources and it'll slow it down. But I found a semi fix, and that's to use mass transit lines. These are under road, public transport lane. And while cars will drive on these in certain circumstances, it will improve, in theory, your bus lines and your tram lines to keep vehicles largely out of those. Now, it's not going to be perfect in every place. You can't put them in roundabouts. I did have to change this roundabout down to a medium concrete roundabout. None of the other types would allow me to run a tram line through it. Um, and right up through here, because I knew this was a very busy section, I went ahead and just sort of did a lazy loop-de-loop around here to make sure that we weren't crossing over our 8 lane with an intersection for our tram line. So you can see I made sure that we stopped at important places, like this Neo barracks. We had to cut through a neighborhood and destroy some buildings. Cut down through here under our highway. We're using this train station, which has got a double-sided entrance, to use it as a major networking hub for 2 different lines. So this is where people will largely be congregating if they're trying to get from one edge of the city to the other. And this, because this is going to be an urban sprawl, we've got extra lines up through there, and it's going to be very easy to add extra stops. And I did put a lot of what I'm calling dead stops, where there's nothing there right now, but there will be in the future. All right, I'll show you guys the actual look in just a second, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of how I approach this. Then I did some additional tweaks. I fixed a couple of district problems, nothing too major, nothing excessive. Um, the perk for this is that we have earned a lot of money and the hourly trend is only going up. So this is good. This is very good. We'll be able to build a lot more extra things. We'll be able to buy up those tiles that I wanted to buy. And I did take a look at this to see how well the skyline looked. Because right now, looking up overhead, you see a lot of empty places. Ground level, don't see as much, and it's quite nice. All right, excuse the coughing. Bit congested. It's springtime in the valley. Okay, so let me show you what those lines actually look like really fast. So here's our tram. And you can see where we've got stops up here by rail, coming through downtown, stopping at that Neo barracks. We stopped up here because this is a residential area with all these low rent apartments. Come back down here, kind of avoided the bus station on purpose, but we still have walking distance, so you could get off here, walk up to the bus station if you needed to. We go all the way down, we drop off by the Ferris wheel, we come over, we drop off by the harbor, by the school, by the university, loop it over here by the train station, but mostly so they can get down to this club bar thing right there. Then we just go back up, we loop back around, we come back over, we swing out wide, we go up and over to the new mall, swing down wide again, come down and over, hit the Museum of Modern Art, and then swing back over here and let the loop complete. Then for bus lines, I added a huge bus line. It starts somewhere around in here, and then it's going to shoot up and shoot out. And let's see, where's it go? Okay, so it comes up over here, then drops down here next to this huge residential plaza, spins down, drops off in front of the Disease Control Center, connects to the harbor, swings over here in front of the medical university, stops at the train station, comes up into this bus station network up here, cuts down on the opposite side of where we put the tram lines, stops at the train station, and I think it stops at the train station. Yeah, stops at the train station, swings down through here, cuts back down, goes all the way back down, not following the highway, but following this road right here, with a dead stop here, and then to the train station, then loops around over here in Copper Bluff a little bit before it terminates back here at this bus station. Huge line, like 13 some odd stops. And if we take a look, and this has just been running for maybe 20 minutes, we do have, oh, and I added one more tram line. So the new tram line's already got 1,200 passengers on it, 1,100-ish. And the new bus line down here, downtown large, 760 some. So it's getting significant amount of use, which is good. And that other tram line, it starts here, it spins up, it spits out, comes up here, uses the train station as a hub, circles, comes back down, stops at this residential plaza, and circles here. It's a much smaller line, but it is a hub connector. So we go from having the endpoint of our tram line here with a bus station nearby and a bus stop nearby, circles hits our hub and comes back. It's very ideal for what I wanted to do. Now, the subway is the next issue, and I'm going to go ahead and save again because I'm really not 100% sure where I want our subway lines to go. I know I want them, I know I need them. And the perk is, since they're underground, we'll have less building issues. Um, my view on subways is that they are people movers, that they are heavy people movers. And while they may not always get as much use as, say, a bus line or a tram line, they should be used to expedite things from point A to point B. Now, in a large city like New York, you're going to get a you're going to get a subway stop every few blocks, and city skylines too. That's not necessarily viable because of the just the scale of the game. It's not something I've been able to see to make any kind of sense. The historic station, this does not have a subway network attached to it. So that's relatively unfortunate. So we're likely going to be putting some kind of subway station either where one of these parks are or down here on well, can't put it on Prospect Street because if we do, we'll delete a parking lot. Or maybe all the way down here on Madison Street. I really don't know. I haven't planned it out. What I know is that I definitely want a subway stop right here. I've left this open on purpose. Um, I'll want a subway stoppage here. Somewhere over here, I don't know if we're going to have to buy tiles or not. Um, and while we don't have any development up here, I also do want to make sure we get some subway coverage. It may not be something that we build right away. I may just go ahead and use this particular episode to work on our sprawl because we've got demand out the wazoo. Um, so let's come over here, take a look, see what we can build in, and we do have this new hub. We do have a couple of options that I do want to consider though, and that's expanding our map tiles, start making our way for our airport, and at the very least, I do want to connect up over here with this highway system. It's not overly important right now, and I'm not buying enough tiles to get a rail to exit the town. But I think it would be nice to go ahead and have control of this last little bit of important territory. Although then again, we don't need it till we start putting in our airport. Um, so I don't know. Another thing to consider is that we are right next to this exit and we do have a train line ready to go. So I think that's going to actually be our first purchase for things I want to do right now. And I don't think I need all four, but I'll just go ahead and snap them. Okay, so this highway node comes over, but we're either going to have to increase it exponentially to get over this elevated highway or hope for blind luck, and we're not getting blind luck. Let's see the size that has to be increased by to cross over the highway. So this is 12.5, and hey, 12.5 did it. It's a pretty high bridge, but sometimes we do not have a choice but to do a pretty high bridge. And give me 1 second. Forgot to mute my phone. You guys don't want to be hearing notifications constantly for the next hour. I am positive of that. For that matter, neither do I. All right, so we'll go ahead and drop it back down to 10. Be 7.5, I think. Should be fine by the time we get over here. All right, but unfortunately now I've run into a problem. I am directly over top of all of this mess. So what I'm going to try to do is to see if the game is going to let me. No, overlapping items. And I bet the items it's overlapping would be the tram line that's running on these pedestrian streets. Oh, is it going to let me do it? Will you let me do it? Maybe? Come on, I've been good. Oh, hang on. Maybe we can get away with it. Or maybe not. Maybe we think we can, but then we definitely cannot. Um, it's very frustrating that it gives us the option, but then won't actually let us do it. All right, so I know we'll run into the same problem right there. I don't want to go underground, so let's just. Yeah, we'll just run that semi-parallel. Go one square further over. And then click the wrong button. There we go. That'll do. Now, while 7.5 is big enough to go over roads, it's also just tall enough that it will leave us with a concrete barrier. So if I do something with these roads up here, or I should say when, I will have to delete and, pause and all that fun stuff, but that's not a big deal. All right, I'm going to go ahead and drop this to the ground. Outside connection established. Passenger rail tool. Come in. Hit. Back out and exit, and we now have a new pathway out to the real world. So we should get some more passenger trains, and that'll increase our tourism a little bit, hopefully. All right, so that's one problem solved. Another problem I did notice, our Wi-Fi coverage is not the greatest, our network coverage. So the modern telecom building, I like this building a lot. It's one of my favorites. I'm gonna stick it in. It's really expensive though. It's 1.2. The next expensive building is a satellite uplink. Now this is really good because it gives a ton of entertainment, ton of network capacity, and well, it doesn't directly add network capacity, but it boosts all of it by 20%, and then gives us an extra 10% attractiveness for tourism citywide. So we're gonna look for a good place to put that too. All right, and I think right here would be a great spot for it. That is a pedestrian road. That should be fine. Bring it all the way across. Keep her 90. Okay, we've got too much going on at that intersection. It's not going to let me cross. That's fine. And then we'll go ahead and install that. And even though nobody's complaining about a lack of network infrastructure right now, that'll still, you know, encourage these buildings to level up and make us more money. So I think that's going to be a good thing for us. All right. Um, I don't really see a great place for the satellite uplink. Obviously, when you do a sat nav thing, you want to make sure that it's in a high location, and this map doesn't have any. You want to make sure that it is away from large buildings, which this map is full of. And we also have a mini death wave that I keep noticing keeps popping up over here. And I really don't know why. Let's take a look at our crematorium. 445 processing speed is fine. It pops up, then it goes away. I think it has something to do with these particular buildings. Um, I don't know if there's any point in setting up another crematorium back here, but I'm just going to go ahead and do that just for the sake of having one. Like, I don't like putting a crematorium in somebody's backyard, but it's not good for the city, which means it's not good for us to have an extended death wave. So, with any luck, that'll take off some of the stress and sort of fix that. I've noticed that like 3 or 4 times. They'll pop up, then they'll go away. Pop up, then they'll go away. So maybe that'll make a difference. All right. So, I don't know. I kind of feel like we should stick that satellite uplink somewhere over here out in the boondocks. Um, it may be, and I really do hate how I've not decorated this area. Um, let me take 30 seconds. So, just as a casual reminder, what you do in this game is entirely up to you. How you do it, there's no right or wrong way. If you've got an area that you're not going to super decorate, you don't have to spend all day doing it. If you look at one of these areas and like, well, this is good enough, that's fine, then by all means, more power to you. There's a lot of places that I feel that way about in this game. This is kind of one of them. Bigger chestnuts, not very. But at the same time, since I am doing this on a feed, I do, I kind of want to make it look a little nice. And if you really want to see something amazing, City Planner Plays has done a full episode on how to make a vineyard in CS2. And it's nuts. I've done similar in a couple of other builds. I think I did similar, a very crappy similar, in the first part of this build, all the way over in Hawthorne Heights. So, I mean, just adding these trees around this farm, even though there's already trees everywhere, but giving them, a specific area. And if the trees are getting dark brownish, it's fall in the game. You can see, if you look down at the bottom left of the screen, in case you're ever wondering and you haven't noticed it before, next to the temperature, it'll tell you what season you're in. And it really disappoints me. Not all maps are built to do snow. I was anticipating snow in this map. I was really excited for it to come around for the season. Now, to be fair, snow doesn't do anything, but I do like the seasonal change. It's not like CS1 where you just have a snow map and it was it. That's actually something that I miss. I miss having like a desert map. I miss having a snow map. Add some variety to the greenness. Okay, I think that's gonna do. So let's do some NIMBY work over here. Straight up, not in my backyard kind of thing. And I'm gonna swing over. We're gonna install the satellite uplinks. We got the money. It's not a big building either, but it's something that It should stick above the trees. If it's good enough for the Empire and the Forest move of Endor, it's good enough for me here. And there, that gives a massive boost to the whole city. So, ton of entertainment, ton of network capacity, ton of extra attractiveness across the city. Don't know how much good we're going to directly see from that, but it's there, it's done, it should be a perk. And it doesn't stick out in a negative way. All right, sticking straight up in the air, like the good little shield generator it is. Okay, so that's done. And we boosted the Wi-Fi over here. I want to check. I know our postal service is pretty solid over here. And I know that in part because I put in a few mailboxes. Um, I'm going to go ahead and slip in another post office back here. So as we expand down, I don't forget about it. There. Just go ahead and give it all the upgrades. Okay. Passengers waiting, 85 at the train station. All right, won't complain. And I don't see any complaints that there's not enough trains. How's this train yard doing? 6 of 15. Cool. All right, we could actually put in a cargo station somewhere, and we should. We should actually develop a good chunk of industry. And likely it'll be up in this area, keep it away from the main population. I'm going to take a solid drink of water really quick. Okay, now let's take a good look down here. How do we want to develop this miniature nightmare? It's really not going to be that bad. We're just going to put in some grids, we're going to do some sprawl, and we're going to walk away happy. I love following highways. I love giving the idea that there is no wrong side of the tracks. I love the idea of a highway cutting right through a city neighborhood. We haven't really taken advantage of that yet, and with good reason. It's going to be hard to cross. Well, actually, shouldn't be that hard to cross this. We're going to have to cross this. Crossing this be a little bit more difficult, but we don't have to jump on that particular boat right away. We can start over here. So let's get to work. And I'm going to focus on doing a lot of, I'm going to focus on doing a lot of 4-lane roads, just for continuity's sake. The other side of that is I do want to have our roads facing very specific directions, have our buildings facing specific directions. And in order to enforce that on this 6-lane, we're going to do the walking path trick again. Now that deletes all of that potential roadway network right there. I'm going to pick a spot. Looks like a good midway here. I would end that right at a pylon. I do it every single time. Now that is too far. There we go. I'm aligning, so I can't obviously show you where I'm pointing at, but look at the southeastern side of this blue line. I'm aligning it with the city path, pedestrian path right there. Now, with the exception of right here, where we've already got a road and it's telling itself it wants to zone on the side of that, which I don't want it to do. Really wish they would correct that a little bit. this isn't entirely straight, so let me delete this. And you see, as soon as I delete that, zoning sort of resets itself. And I want these to develop in full lot sizes as best as the game will let it. Again, same blasted problem. Okay, then I'm going to pick a couple of arbitrary locations as well. Again, and this is how we're going to set up our grid. I don't want buildings to develop on the 6 lanes, because if they do, that'll contribute to some traffic. I want them facing the 2 lanes, and then as traffic comes out, then I want them to hit these intersections and then come down into the 6 lanes. I think that's going to be safer, better, smarter for everybody involved. I'm going to go ahead and leave that 4 lane the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and start developing and zoning in. Actually, I think on this, we're going to turn this into a 2-lane road. Or that's a perpendicular parking alley. 2-lane perpendicular parking road is the same space as a 4-lane. Just so you know, if you didn't know that already. Now we're absolutely not going to connect this straight to that junction. That would be terrible. But I'll use that as part of my grid. And I will do the same thing right here. But that pathway is going to be in my way. Now, while this will add traffic aesthetically, I want to have the buildings that are going to come in here facing each other. I don't want to have the front of one building facing the butt of another building. I just think that would be very unpleasant for anybody living there. Okay, so we've got this set up. Now let's go ahead and slip in a couple of pedestrian roads through here. And I'm being very careful. We're going to be doing this one grid section at a time. So this is not going to be a city that gets developed in a day. We're starting here. And we'll continue a little bit back over here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and write here. Okay, that's 90 degrees right there. Not super perfect, but I think that may be the best we can do for this one particular. actually do. Okay. Then we'll have an open space here by this highway. I might fill it in with more trees or something. I'm really not 100% sure what. Okay, quick pause. Fixed, unpause. Okay, so let's see what we want to put in here. Obviously, the number one thing, the fastest thing, is going to be the city elementary school, which of course doesn't quite fit right there. Because of course it does not quite fit right there. Why would it fit right there? Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Uh, we can't actually, we can fit it just perfectly right along one of these pedestrian roads. So let's do that. Perfect. That's done. And operating district selected, as I forgot to do it. Okay, that's one down. We've got ample mail coverage up here. Right now I'm looking for services. So let's slip in our community kindergarten. Have that be near. We've got death care right over there. We don't have any medical care up here in this quadrant. We are going to want some. So let's take a quick look. And this is going to be a larger thing. So let's be very careful where we want to consider putting it. Actually, let's be so careful that we're not going to do it right now. That's an easy solution. All right. I do want to put in a large sports complex, though. Two large indoor halls. We've already placed that. The game set match, sports set pavilion, climbing. I think a football field is going to work very well over here. Just a question of where. If I set that there, that's more or less straight. We'll correct that angled road right there by doing that. That's done. And here it can connect on to that 6-lane. And we'll cycle that 6-lane up to it as well. Okay, that's done. And then when I'm feeling bored, we'll connect this to that 8-lane highway intersection. They can still get to it right now already. It's fine. Okay, let's now start zoning in our buildings. So being close to the highway, we want to use light commercial. Actually, we're gonna do a mix. I'm gonna do light commercial across that block, coupled with high density office, popping in right behind it. I'm gonna slip to Chinese style low rent housing for some of these. Let them develop up that way. Then high density Chinese. And then over here, we'll use medium density right there on that block, and then straight up North American style high density offices right there. That'll give a nice boost, nice filler, nice fill in right through here. And then I'm going to come over and we'll place some high density commercial close to that highway, and we'll go ahead and fill in that last block with basic North American high density right there. And now that all those buildings are coming in, what I'm going to do is then take away these walking paths that are entirely 100% not needed right here. I have the zoning facing where I want it, with the exception of these spots right here that I haven't filled in yet. And as they do, we'll be good. Okay. How's our police coverage coming back here? It's starting to look a... No, it's completely fine. Oh, we've got that large police station over there. That's why. Now that while that fills in on that side, let's take a look at this side. And I think I put a tram stop. Yep, right there. So this is going to be a perfect place to put in some more buildings. We'll use the UK high density commercial right here because they've got a little slightly smaller footprint. But for that whole lane right there, that's going to be office. And actually, that entire whole lane right there is going to be office. And we'll turn that to high density commercial coming up through that section. Cool. Very cool. And I think that's going to develop delightfully. We'll turn that whole corner to medium density residential. use the Japanese style. This part right here that's directly abutting a highway, we'll go ahead and use low rent, high density. And now we wait for it all to zone in. Can't really do much else right there in this section, so now we'll move on to our next grid area. We're going to save first because we are going to save first. Okay, so we've got this large corner and don't have anything really that we can put into it safely. I don't want to cause a junction right here. I don't want to leave a big L-shaped space in the back of it. And I don't really want to swing over this pedestrian path and drop it around. That would just be silly. I'm very impressed that we haven't had a massive traffic jam or anything so far. That's good news for us. So let's take a look at our signature buildings, see if we got anything that would fit. I know a lot of our residential signature buildings are on the small footprint side right now, so that's largely going to be out. Same thing with our mixed use commercial. I'm looking for something big. Now, something like this, the auto center, might be pretty solid. Or the activity plaza could be fun. We're not far away from the Museum of Modern Art in the city. It is right there. So, like a museum or something large like that. Supermarket sounds pretty fun, but I don't think it sounds fun right there. Um, the German department store. This is a pretty solid building. This is directly on train tracks. It is, or not train, tram tracks. It's near the train station. This would be a good hub spot for it, except we have that mall all the way up there, so maybe not. Okay, the art supply store, Northeastern End, those are all pretty small. The hotel, we don't have any major incoming mass transit right there. Okay, these are all small buildings. The Oceanarium, that's a maybe. Pinfall Palace is a decently sized building, but it's almost got the same footprint as a large, whatever that is. Okay, the muscle car garage. Not a huge footprint. I'm actually just going to go ahead and put in the auto center. The auto center right there on that intersection. Then instead of a straight pedestrian road that would put in a stoplight or a stop sign, we'll use the generic path. No, we use the generic path coming off that highway intersection. But, I have to redo this, but I'll use a one-way alley doesn't make as much sense as I would like it to. Let's see. Well, nothing's stopping me from upgrading that road, so whatever. Okay. So do a one-way alley right there, then a pedestrian path. There's that traffic jam I was waiting for. Made a mess of the zoning right there. And because my memory sucks, I don't remember what I put here. What are those? Okay, then back here, what I'm going to slip in, the reason the, for all my madness, if we've got an auto center, I feel like we need to have a very large parking lot. Maybe not a very large parking lot. That's the medium. Yeah, we're going to play around here with sizes. Because I haven't built one of these in a very long time. Yeah, there we go. Then I'm going to get rid of that. Then we're going to back to our alley. Motorcycle parking lots. Pair of those. Yeah, one giant auto center coupled with a bunch of parking. Like I feel like that gets the point across. Then, oh, there's that traffic jam. They are hung up on stop light. Well, let's change that to a stop sign and change this from shoot. Confuse your traffic. One easy step right there. All right. And then we'll go ahead and adjust this into 5 lanes. Like that traffic jam is not going to last forever, but in the short term, let's go ahead and do what we can to fix it. Because there is a decent chunk going this way and there's another chunk going north. So just looking at this from the side of Brook End and seeing how it's growing, I think that we're great. Okay, we do have a traffic problem over here. Is this something that we can resolve? Yes. Here's part of it right here. Now, I don't want to delete all of those stoplights by any stretch, but this is the growing building pain I knew we were going to have. And we just sort of have to wait it out a little bit. But that means we can work over here on this side. Well, that's a traffic nightmare. We can not care about it. So let's get over here and get to work not caring about it. And right here at this intersection, we're going to fill this with commercial and office, although it looks like right now our office demand is non-existent, which is fine. Just as it's fine to fill that demand area up with mixed use. And then again, I really don't want to put a lot of high density right on the 8 lane, but I feel like some is almost unavoidable. I mean, we are right next to the Museum of Modern Art right down here. People are going to want to live here. They're going to want to be up in their penthouses and staring down at all of that. And so this is also a good approach spot for some medium density as well. And not just medium density. We can even go ahead and slip in low density. But I want to make sure that I'm not going off the edge of the river. I don't want to interfere with that. So we just have to be careful. So small building lot sizes. And I feel like right over here next to the Museum of Modern Art, I would be remiss if I didn't put in some sort of uh, food location, a ritzy restaurant right across from it. So, an award winning gourmet restaurant, I would think, would fit in perfectly right across the street from it. Spot bonuses. Plus 20 meals, plus attractiveness, plus well being. Okay. Okay, now we've basically completely overloaded the sim with demand. So let's save our game. Sit back, put our speed up to 3, and watch as things pop in. And this is just going to take time. I mean, just look at this traffic jam, but look at how much zoning we have. We have a lot of new stuff coming in, and some traffic just cannot be avoided in this case. Really surprised how much is coming down from here, though. But it's also a lot of it's coming up through here, so they're cutting through. Okay, well, that's not unexpected. Shouldn't be too unexpected, anyways. All right. But I feel like this is doing wonders for our skyline approach. So the next area that I kind of want to develop is to fill in this empty spot right through here and right there. But right now, the only demand we have is the ever-present demand for low-density residential. People don't like living in small homes. I in real life, I live in a moderate-sized house. It's badly needs of repair, but I live in a moderate-sized house. Um, I want to live in a place like New York City, but I don't know if I could stand living in a small apartment complex. Um, I, so to each their own on that. And this game is no different when it comes to it. And I hate this sit back and sit down and wait kind of period we've got right now, but that's the period we've got. Okay, I know we're going to need more elementary schools, so let me go ahead and place a couple that aren't destructive. I really don't know how well kids could focus around a highway. I'm assuming not very well, but I also see that we're developing around a highway, and we do want to make sure that we do have enough network for our kids to come through. Okay, well, while this pops up, let's see what our next neighborhood brings us. And let's also take a quick look at our job market because I've been kind of curious. Uh, Oof, I don't like that homeless. Jobs, we've got 2,000 more jobs than we do residents, and our residents are going to be increasing. Let's take a look at our pollution back through here. Is this going to tell me? Ooh, we have access to oil back here. We have access to a lot of oil. And oil is not something we are generating at all, production wise. Um, hmm. Take another look at that really quick. Okay, first of all, our wind is blowing this direction. So if I do put any industrial, it's gonna have to come up here. So it's blowing off the edge of the map instead of blowing into the back end of our uh, development. I have one more solution for that. Thought we had an auto plant we could build. Do we not? Fuel plant. Oh, there it is. It's the first one. Okay. Yeah. Um. Yeah. We're just gonna leave it as a yeah. Uh. So I feel like I could get away with adding an oil field beside all this recycling and everything and up here by the highway. I don't feel like that would be. I mean, it's going to look unattractive, but this is an unattractive area. Then I'll turn that highway into an overpass later. I'm going to go ahead and snap up that tile because we can afford it and we're about to be able to afford a lot more. Then I'm just going to simply bring this all the way up to the edge. So that's going to be harvesting, what it's 110 tons of oil. Don't think that's how that would be measured. And it doesn't stick out the worst. So I can live with that a little bit. I do not really. I do and I don't want to put an extra oil field right over here. How terrible would it look if I did? That's an extra 89 tons. And then, guess I know there's a downside. We had these set up as pedestrian roads, but if we're putting in an industry right back through here, that's gonna not mesh up very well. Oof, what the heck? Oh, that's going to create a nightmare. Okay. And I can't do anything about that. Ugh. Oh, we'll just have to wait for that to resolve. All right, so I don't feel like an industrial park back here would be in any way, shape, or form out of place, out of interest, out of whatever. I will say that we've been streaming, recording for over an hour now, and I didn't realize it had been that long. So hey, um, what can I say? All right, so I can say that our traffic jam is cleared up. Cool. Okay. I can say that I like the looks of this new development stuff down through here. Even cooler. Okay, well, let's take one fast look. Because of this train line, it's going to limit how much I can feasibly slip in through here. Unless I just use an alley or a two-way. Also don't think I can follow its curve exactly. Creatively, but not exactly. Okay, and these were... Okay, yeah, those are Japanese style medium density. All right, let's force the nodes to correct right there. Fill that in with high density American. Come on. Really wish it didn't abbreviate some of these. like the Japanese medium density housing, they've abbreviated it as JP. And I feel like I am one step away from slipping and unintentionally uttering, uttering some sort of offensive slur. So if I ever do, please don't hate me. Okay, back there. We'll turn that into that, but we'll also get rid of that. I feel like a large park here would be appropriate. An actual park, though. Maybe the Chirper Funtime Complex? Multi-purpose park would be nice, but it's not going to fit by just a hair. Large plaza, yeah, again. Chirper Adventure Park would fit. Passage Park, close but no cigar. And we've placed a couple of these barracks, so that's out. Well, the Funtime Complex should be fine. And it offers a couple of small paths out of it, so we've got extra walkability. Then behind it, we'll just go ahead and slip in some more medium density housing. And then some low density commercial and low density building or office down this way. Though I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit concerned about our lack of office demand right now. Yeah, that sizably bolsters up this whole side of our downtown area. I love this. Let me save again. Okay, so the next big area to develop up is over here, as well as to continue to work on our urban sprawl up here. And we've got ample demand. We can go ahead and start doing the urban sprawl thing now. I mean, there's nothing stopping me except for the traffic. So that's good news. Uh, oh, one thing I did forget to put in. I know I'll need it back here. I'll know I'll need it back here. It's not these. I keep forgetting we have this city library. It's not very, doesn't have a huge footprint, but it's an important building. Something they added with the Chinese asset pack. I just don't have a good place to put it because I didn't really, well, didn't remember I had it. No, it's not going to fit in there. It's maybe something that comes in up here. And since it is a library, we do want to sort of keep it away from the highway interchanges. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I almost wish I was doing this live so I can get comments in the comments. Uh, Comments in the comments. Yes, that tells you how tired I am. All right, so what I forgot was death care. We don't have a crematorium up here. We all know that we're going to need one or 10. Um, Yeah, we'll slip it in right there beside the highway. Yeah, even if it's not needed right now, it'll be needed later. Speaking of being needed later, I am needed elsewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Josh. Thank you very, very, very much for tuning in to another episode of Dead Men Streaming as I put together the city of Imini Bay. And as I glance up at the death waves still occurring, blessed be, we'll have to do something about this next episode or as soon as I log off, one of the two. All right, either way, thank you all very much for tuning in. I hope you had a wonderful time. I hope you enjoyed this build, this setup, this everything. Imini Bay is turning into one of my favorite cities I've ever done. I'm not even kidding. And I hope it's something that you guys are enjoying too. So, in lieu of the typical outro, as I say, please be sure to give me a like, a follow, a subscribe, all that fun stuff. Listen, it really does help. You get to see more of my content. I get to feel better about myself. And maybe I'll be able to find a way to use this for some fundraising. Because I do run a charity organization. Information on that is in chat. And if you just like hearing me talk while reading a book, I have almost a dozen published. You can check out the links to my Amazon page and website in the comments if you enjoy cyberpunk, urban fantasy, or fantasy horror. And that's it for me. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Josh. Thanks again. I'm going to stop talking and just let this play for a couple of minutes.